Welcome. Today I have with me Juan Francisco Palacios Temprano. And Juan, maybe you can say a few words about you.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. Thank you for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure to talk about chess with someone of your level. I'm Juan Palacios. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at MIT, and I work on topics related to economics and environmental economics specifically, and how things like environmental pollution or climate affect human health and performance.
Yeah, so we still know each other from your time here in Maastricht. Yeah. So I wonder how life and work is different at MIT compared to Maastricht.
Yeah, so now I have a new home. Boston is a very exciting place. You have the best people in their fields around you. So it's a great opportunity to learn a lot. But it's also a great opportunity to work 24/7 almost.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit on how much your work relates to chess?
I look at how air pollution affects chess players.
Oh, that's very interesting. So how exactly do you do this?
So we went for 3 years to a chess tournament in Germany, and we installed sensors there measuring air pollution and temperature, humidity, noise, so everything related to the environment where these players were playing. And then we got the permission from the chess tournament organizer to get every move that the chess players made during this every game of these 3 years. And we could compare how the different levels of air quality, of fine particles and CO2 will actually affect the probability of making mistakes of these players.
So making mistakes, how do you measure it? Do you go through all the games yourself? Or?
Yeah, so I got Christian as a research assistant. No, we work very similar to how you analyze the games. So we took all of these moves after each player's game, and we put it in a computer. We use Stockfish, one of the most powerful chess engines, and we analyze those games. And we got from the computer two things. We got the computer to tell us whether the move was a blunder or the move was a move that will make them lose tempo, and also tell the computer what the best move would have been in that situation in the board, and how what will be the pawn advantage that move will be, and then compare it with the pawn advantage that the move that the player took actually achieved.
Okay, so you figure out the difference in quality of the move of the player, and as a gold standard, sort of, you take the Stockfish line.
Yes, exactly.
And so doesn't this need a lot of computing power?
Well, it needs a lot of time. So we had in total 30,000 moves. So wow. Every move was evaluated, and then every move then was linked to the level of air quality at that moment in the room.
Wow. Yeah, so how long did it take for the computer to compute all these top moves, and like what's the depth of Stockfish or the?
Yeah, so I think it took for each tournament it took a couple of days to run the whole thing. Each tournament will be around 10,000 moves. We have 50 players playing 70 rounds, and the depth will be, you can set it up in seconds with something a depth of 10 to 15 seconds. So that will give you something to around 20 to 30 moves depth.
Yeah, that's a lot already. Yeah.
That's a lot, and these players are semi-professionals, so that will be like a couple of steps lower to your level in terms of flow.
I see. So did you take into account that the opening play is usually memorized, and that they will all make the perfect moves in the first 3 or 4 moves?
Yeah, exactly. So we start comparing the moves against the computer after move 15, when both players are already set in the board, and then really compare when they are really interacting to each other, how their moves are actually, how good the moves are.
Okay, great. So now the big question: what do you find? What is the outcome of your study?
Well, we found couple of exciting things. So first of all, what we find is that when you really look at all of these variables, so whether temperature matters or whether humidity matters or CO2 or particles, the main drivers of performance, the main predictor in that sense is fine particles. So when the level of pollution in the room is high, the level of particles in the room is high, these players will make more mistakes, and those mistakes will be larger.
Okay, what kind of particles are that?
Yeah, so these fine particles are a little tiny things, particles. Basically, is 1/10 of the diameter of one of your hairs. And they are usually coming from, in a place like Germany, from two things: coal burning, so from the power plants that you have around the country, and the car exhaust. So when they are running, especially diesel, they generate these particles. And when the wind is not so strong, when there are a lot of things, then usually they stay around for a couple of days.
Wow.
And we are breathing it. And the health literature has been showing for many decades that causes problems with respiratory health, with our hearts. And recently, in the last 5 to 10 years, we know more and more that this affects our brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are there particular points in the game where this matters most, like in the time control, when you have a lot of stress, or at other points? I don't know. So.
Yeah. So what I learned from you is, and from the internet, is that what really makes the difference between a good player and not so good player is really the moment when you are under time pressure. So that is really exactly when we find that the particles really hit the strongest. So in the moves between 30 and 40, where the time control happens, is when being in a bad day makes even a stronger difference. So being in a bad day will make you even make more mistakes when you are in the time control than with respect to the other phases of the game.
Okay, so why exactly did you take chess? And what can we learn from chess for other things, like for the workplace, for instance?
Yeah, so, well, from chess, like when chess is like kind of the gold standard of cognitive demanding task. So we wanted to really see how these variables or these factors affect cognitive demanding tasks, the cognitive performance of people. Usually what people do is go into students, but students usually have a very specific characteristic. So they are young, they are usually healthy, well, chess players also. But they have certain characteristics. Also, exam grades are usually less rich or more poor as an outcome than a chess game. A chess game, I can really evaluate every single move, while an exam, usually what we get as a researchers is the final grade. But we do don't learn also how that grade was created over the whole time of the exam. Well, in chess, you really see every move and how, why did you lose, when were the blunders took place, and whether that was really happening at the moment that was polluted. And the good thing of chess is that with respect to studies in the health science or environmental science, where you usually put people in a lab, you pay them to come to your lab and you give them some cognitive tasks. These people in the lab do not really necessarily care. They don't have intrinsic motivation. Why? I believe that you care
about the rating, right? I care a lot about the rating and the others as well. So
exactly. How many Mondays I saw you very happy because you won the game, or I had to take you for a beer to the bar? There you see. Exactly. So these people really care. So that's exactly how we think of workers in the job, in a normal job scenario, workplace. These people really care of the outcome of the game. So if they don't put maximum effort, they will have higher probability of making mistakes and higher probability in the end of losing the game, and that will affect them. So it's in their best interest of not giving 99%, but give really 100% all the time in the game. And so that's what's really important of the chess. You have objective outcomes, and you have people that really care about the outcomes.
So suppose I'm a chess organizer and I come to you and I ask you, oh, you have now these great findings about particles and how they might reduce quality of play, and I want to organize a tournament where the quality of play is as high as possible. So what can I do to reduce these kind of particles in my room?
Yeah, well, you have now different technologies for that. First, try to choose a venue that is as far as possible from a coal plant, for example, coal power plant, or a busy highway, but usually that's not that easy. But nowadays you have also a lot of technologies like air purifiers, where they will actually use ionization or other sort of technologies to filter the earth, Also, make sure that when you go to a big sport hall or any of these big venues where big chess tournaments happen, that the filters of the ventilation system are good and that they are doing well their function of keeping these particles out of your lungs.
So how expensive is that?
For an air purifier, so the ventilation system, of course, we are talking at different scale. The filters of those ventilation systems are not that expensive. We are talking in the hundreds, even less, probably less. And the air purifiers now, they are selling around $300-400, €300-400 also. A normal air purifier that will be enough to clean up a medium-sized room. So, for example, for my room, for 50 people, you have like usually 25 tables. That would be enough probably with something like that.
And they don't smell, or I don't know.
No.
No, okay, so I have no clue how this works, as you can see. So
you cannot see it, you cannot smell it.
Okay.
And that's why it's so powerful for us, for our research, because you are not aware of it, but it's affecting you. So it's not changing your behavior. Things like, for example, CO2, it does. Like you can feel that it's stuffy because the CO2 itself will not smell. But when the CO2 levels is high, it's usually a sign that the room is poorly ventilated. So you will also smell a lot of the odors of furniture, people that are staying there because they are not going out and oxygenate. So
and I know how it is to play in a big chess hall with 500 people and 4 hours, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, these things are usually ventilation rates are important to keep like the indoor air clean and ventilated and get rid of a lot of these 4-hour odor things. And also basically your brain needs oxygen, and oxygen, especially in these sport halls with nothing but tables, is not generated inside, so you need the oxygen to come from the outside. So make sure that if there are windows that they're open, and if there is a ventilation system that is properly feeding the room with oxygen. And for particles, just make sure that the air is filtered in one way or another before it gets to the room, or while it is in the room, that is recycled and filtered during the tournament.
So you heard it. If you want to organize the next World Championship match or Super Tournament or even local tournament, you can take the air purifiers and you will increase the quality of play. Yes. So is there any follow-up? Are you planning to continue your work in that direction on chess or maybe not on chess?
Yes, so there are different follow-ups. So now we really take also this knowledge to primary schools. So we have a big experiment now here in the Netherlands where we are monitoring the same factors, environmental factors in primary school classrooms for 300 classrooms, so 6,000 kids taking exams every half a year, and we will get access to those exams and link it, and also we will be able again to follow them over different years, so from the age of 5 to the age of 12, and see also when these kids are more affected. And in terms of chess, we are expanding the data set, the knowledge. We have now semi-professionals. We want to go to the professional level, and there maybe at some point you appear in the data set. So we will be able
all
to
my losses appear in the data set. I see, yeah.
Yeah, if I find that a lot of them came because of air particles in the room, then
I can attribute it to that. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I always knew. My losses are result from air particles.
Exactly. If the air was clean, you would be now competing with Carlson.
Yeah. Okay, Juan, thanks a lot for the interview. Thanks a lot for taking the time. I think we all learned a lot, both for chess, but also for society as a whole. Yeah. So I think this is really a great project, and it was a great pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share the project with someone with this deep knowledge of chess. It's really an honor to be here.
Okay,
Thanks.
You.